Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be looking at a glitching bear. No, we're going to be taking a look at the Cessna AG188 AgTruck, a new little agricultural airplane, which is interesting to fly. If you fly it around with not a lot of stuff in it as far as weight goes, it's actually really cool. It's like a little jet fighter because, this nice wraparound canopy. For those of you who want to use it for actual crop dusting missions, which we're going to do a little bit of experiment with later on, it's a little different because it is a little underpowered, and you'll definitely know what I mean the first time you give it a try. So let's go ahead and get this party started. So I'm going to go ahead and pop off the pitot cover there. I'm going to crouch, get rid of these little chocks, come over here, pop out the cow plugs, and we're good to go on the outside. One of the things we do want to do is inspect to make sure that we have fuel in places. I can see that I'm not apparently sitting inside of the airplane. I should probably fix that real quick there. Load us up. Go to our liquid. We're going to go ahead and do full stores here. I'm going to load that up real quickly there. Fuel, that's way too much. We're going to do half a tank here, and we're going to lighten that up just a tiny bit. And obviously, we're not going to fiddle with the CG here. Now, one of the interesting things about this aircraft and aircraft like it is a restricted category aircraft. So what that means is we can basically take off and land way outside of the safe ranges, up to a point, obviously. But again, because of that, that means we have to fly by slightly different rules. So let's go ahead and climb inside this thing here. So a couple things we want to do when we first pop in. Of course, if we crouch down here, you've got a little window that shows you exactly how much fluid you're carrying, basically fertilizer, it could be pesticide. But the other thing you'll notice is we have fuel, even though there's no way these gauges would operate if I'm not going to think about that too hard. So the general layout of the cockpit is like this. All of our handles for controls of things that we're going to need engine-wise, as well as our hopper, is on the left. All of our controls for lights over here on the left. And when you swing over into the right, these are going to be all your controls as far as batteries and systems like that. Now, they did not give us a GPS when they did this one, which is kind of a bummer because that makes it just a little bit harder to control. Obviously, not control, navigate is really the key elements here. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. So the first thing I'm going to do is float down here. I'm going to go ahead and pop on the beacon light there. Now, one of the things that kind of bums me with this aircraft is none of the instrument lights seem to work well at this time of day. It's just kind of one of those things that it does it like that. Once we've done that, I'm going to swing over to my right here. I'm going to go ahead and hit my master switches, and we're going to pop on the two magneto switches, which are located right there. Now, here's our fuel cutoff. We're going to make sure that's in the forward position. That's definitely what we want it to do because we need fuel. Now, when we swing over to this side of things, you'll notice we've got our standard mixture handle. I'm going to gently push that forward. And then, strangely, I'm going to jam the throttle forward and make sure my RPM is all the way forward as well. Now, you're sitting there going, oh, I know why. You're doing that because right on the nose, it says, look out, there's a bear that's glitching. There's a giant sign that says fuel injection. And, of course, that is absolutely accurate for us. And because we are a fuel-injected aircraft, we need to prime it a little differently. So with my throttle all the way forward there, I'm going to come to this button, hit this one. Give it a few moments. That's it. So now I'll go ahead and pull my throttle, put it in a normal spot, pull the mixture handle out, as weird as that seems. And what we're going to do is crank it. And when we hear the engine catch, we're going to quickly push the mixture control forward. Y'all ready for this? Let's do it. Nice. Once that's been done, we're going to go ahead and give it a gentle push up to 1,000 revolutions per minute, comrades. We see the oil pressure's in the green. We can see the oil temperatures chilling there in the green too. So our P's and T's are nominal. Good time to check the rest of your instrumentation. Go take a quick little look out back here, make sure everything's working okay. And everything looks really, really good so far. And again, depending on the orientation, depending on the configuration, we can do things a little bit differently. So now we're going to go ahead and get this thing in a position to go ahead and take off. Now, the cool thing with this aircraft is it will get you in the air eventually. The bad thing with this aircraft is, unfortunately, we are a tail dragger, which makes things a little bit sketchier. We're also, I think, one of the heaviest tail draggers I've ever flown. I kind of bounced around here. So we're going to go ahead and take our controller. We're going to go ahead and pull it back because we're on grass, and we're just going to make our way down to the end of the runway here. Now, the interesting thing is they used to do a really cool air and car show at this particular airfield. This is Simsbury Airport. And when they would do that, of course, they do helicopter rides. Just have you ever been in a helicopter before? And basically this poor dude had to sit there and fly hundreds of people around in a helicopter for hours on end. It was always funny. But they'd always take off basically right where I'm chilling here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make my way down to the end. Again, you want to keep that control, pull it towards you. This aircraft has no problem with soft fields like this. As a matter of fact, we probably should have done a soft field takeoff and landing to really kind of like sell it. And this little unnatural, uneven bumpiness, that's just part of the fun. So again, I'm just going to enjoy this little kind of bounce here as we kind of get moving. Now, there's a bunch of different philosophies on this aircraft as far as how to get it in the air safely. Obviously, one of the things that you'll notice is you're probably going to get a lot of stall warning the entire time. You'll know what I mean, by the way, when you do it the first couple times. And the reason that's going to happen to us, of course, is because of the configuration of this airplane. Since we're always pitched up a little bit, if we don't have a lot of lift going on, the stall warning is basically going to go off the entire time. So let's go ahead and kick ourselves around here. Try to get us out of the grass, and that's good right there. Now, normally what you'd want to do is you'd want to do your run-up, and when I was fiddling with that earlier, I found that the magneto switches don't actually seem to do anything unless you shut them both off, so that's kind of disappointing. But that doesn't mean we can't test one of our handles, and we will definitely do that. Go ahead and power this thing up, give it a little bit of RPM. That looks pretty good. About 2,000's plenty here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and pull the propeller level back. Fun fact, the oil pressure should go up, not down, but I'm not going to stress too much about it. One of the things I miss is in the real plane, as I've commented many times in videos before, it makes a nice wisp noise when you do that. But we're just not going to get that. Go ahead and pull that to idle, see if anything dies on us. And again, real-world engines are so much more responsive than this, but that's okay. All right, everything looks good. We're going to go pop on our landing light real quick just to let everybody know that we're taking off. Go ahead and look around the front here, and everything looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. All right, let's do it. Come on. This thing is just so heavy. Little runway 3, there's a garbage dump right there. Can you see it? It's just so funny. All right, let's kick it around. Fortunately, today we are taking advantage. Well, there's not a short runway, but this is the tougher runway for us. You'll see why in a second. All right, so unfortunately, the brakes on this thing aren't fantastic. There's a bunch of different philosophies how to get this thing safely in the air. Most people recommend a half-hop takeoff. Oh my goodness. The way you would do that is you basically rip down the runway, pop down one click of elevator, one click of flaps. When the elevator becomes responsive, pop in the other click of flaps once you get enough speed. You'll definitely use that technique here. So I'm going to go ahead and smoothly apply full power. There we go. We're going to go ahead and release the brakes. And what we're looking for here is that we just start to get elevator responsiveness. We do have a crosswind today, so we do need to be a little bit mindful. Yep, there it is. So we're going to click on one notch of flaps. And what we're going to do is we're going to let the nose sink here. There we go. We're going to click on the next notch of flaps. And we're just going to let it rise. And that's how you do it. My goodness, that is a lot better than when I was practicing earlier. Now, you're probably sitting here going, why are you looking down? It's because the people at aircraft development companies feel that people have to be looking down at their instruments at all times. I actually find that irritating. That's straight. All right, we've got a little bit of altitude. Let's gently retract our flaps. We're going to do one there. And we're going to bring in that next click of flaps there. And we're just going to give it a few moments to kind of settle. Delightful. So now we're going to go ahead and reduce our RPM so that we're in the green and we can't be zipping around in the yellow. Theoretically, we could be chilling at the base of the yellow, which is where we're at right now. But we'll be a little bit safer here, and we'll come right to about 2,600 revolutions per minute. And now we are on our way. Now, had you tried to take off with full fuel on this aircraft, you would discover, much to your dismay, that things would not work so well. Now, if you take a look at the standard rules for flying any kind of ag mission, the rule is a 500 feet AGL minimum whenever you're transiting to and from a particular location. So for us, of course, we're going to be transiting to. We can go down to 500. We're at 1,000. That gives us about 800 feet underneath us from where we're flying right now. So we're just going to gently take a nice little turn here. Like I said, enjoy the flight. I love the view from this thing. I also like the fact they got the big rubber things to basically stop you from hitting your head. And one of the convenient facts is the fact that our field that we're interested in today happens to be about 10 seconds from the airport itself, which makes it a little bit easier for us. Now, whenever you're doing any sort of ag missions, there's a bunch of different little rules you want to kind of follow. I'm going to go ahead and get my RPM down just a little bit. The first one is know the thing you're going to be spraying before you try to spray it. I can't say that enough. Again, the reason we want to do that is you want to find everything. Power lines, towers, birds, glitching bears, all those things are very, very important that we're aware of them before we try to do something stupid and try to basically fly through them. So our field today, again, I'm not going to do the whole field because that would take us hours, basically, is I'm just going to do one quick reconnaissance run. Now, when you're doing this on the campaign missions, of course, they don't really give you time to do a reconnaissance run, which is very obnoxious because in the real world, you have observers on the ground, and those folks are going to be doing a great job. All right, I'm just looking around for any obstacles, kind of planning my thing. Obviously, the wind matters here. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit of power. Like I said, once this thing's flying, it's not so bad. There we go. Just taking a look around. I didn't see anything too dangerous. Obviously, when we're flying this low, you'd scare the crap out of the neighbors. I think it's like folks basically home. Let's take a look. The wind's coming out of the west, so that's going to be behind me. Of course, we want to go the long way on the runway, or long way, because it makes it a little bit easier. We have less turns when we do that. Take one more little inspection, identifying anything that shouldn't be there. And again, we're just looking for things that should be confusing. All right, that looks good to me. We're now good to go. Whatever we're going to be spraying, we always want to be spraying, like I said, in a situation where you don't have to keep turning the plane. Now, when you have something that's very, very, let's say, squat, where it's very, very thin in one place and very long in another, always take the long one. All right, we're ready to do our operation. We're going to come swing in here. And I will show you everybody's favorite teardrop pass. I absolutely despise the camera here, but, we're going to make it work. All right, nice and easy. All right, fortunately, they made it pretty easy for us. Now, since our wind is going to be coming from our right, we basically want to be spraying on the left side over. All right. Let's do a dry run. This is our dry run. Okay, feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. No weird turbulence. Again, keeping an eye out for any obstacles. Don't forget that full power when you complete it. And that will be our dry run. Excellent. So now let me go ahead and pause our aircraft for just a second here. We're going to take a look at the controls we're going to need to pull this off. Now, there's a handle over here that says fumigator. That one's the one you're going to want to have a button for. So if I come over here and we go ahead and search, if I type in fumi, you'll notice that we get nothing as far as controls goes. Instead, what you're going to be looking for is the liquid drop system for this toggle spray, which in this case, the keyboard defaults to Z. So if I push Z, it turns it on. You can see I can flip it on or off very, very quickly. Figure out that control immediately. All right, so with that all taken care of, let's go ahead and pause and show you our teardrop. So what we're going to do is after we do a run, we're going to take a gentle left turn to about 45 degrees to the course we just did. That's going to be about right there. Once we've done that, we're going to travel. I usually like to do, you could do 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds. And then what we're going to do is execute a 270-degree turn while being very, very cognizant of anything that we should be flying ourselves into. Again, as you're doing this, listen to the plane. Listen for any quick little chirps. Keep an eye out for things like that, because that would end us very, very, very quickly. Looks good to me. Again, we can keep the RPM more or less constant. Be looking around at all times. There's our 270-degree turn. Now we're going to go ahead and roll out. Now we're ready to do our spray. We're doing for about 100 knots for this aircraft, which works out to be, it's going to be about 20 inches of mercury. Try not to hit that one. Pause for a second here. Make sure my view is perfect. There we go. Looks good to me. All right. And spray on. And spray off. So we're going to do the same maneuver. We're going to go ahead and take that 45-degree right turn. Hold it for about 10 seconds or so. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. And then we're going to go ahead and execute a 270-degree turn to basically come back around again. And again, at this particular point, if we had GPS mode, this would be vastly simpler because we could basically look at the path we've already taken. And again, when you're not directly spraying, try to give yourself a little more altitude than you think you need for that particular purpose. Go ahead and take a look around. I can see my next row is going to be right there. Delightful, delightful. Give yourselves plenty of time to respond. Try not to spray on the roof of that building. And here we go. Spray on. And just like that. Now, you basically be repeating that pattern for a good hour and a half in order to actually make any objectives here. Now, the thing I think is really interesting is if you come down here, it looks like we haven't really used that much spray. And the crazy thing is, if you bring this up and hit the liquid, you can see we really have used barely any. So you have an idea of just the insane amount of quantity that you have. Now, let's say we've gone ahead and emptied this thing out. We've had a successful afternoon, and we're ready to go ahead and bring this thing in for landing. Now, the first thing that will absolutely shock you is how insanely light this aircraft suddenly is going to handle. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, there's our lovely Simsbury Airport as we had before. We'll go ahead and do a nice little approach on this one. Now, when you're coming in for a landing on this one, because you're probably landing with some stuff still, junk in the trunk if you prefer, you just have to be very, very mindful of that fact. Because when you go to settle, this thing's going to have a really bad tendency to basically bounce on you. Let's go ahead and spin around and line ourselves up for the airport here. Again, non-standard approach, but that's okay. Get nice and slow. Now, the crazy thing about this aircraft is the flaps are so powerful, they allow you to do all sorts of very, very dangerous things, like approaches like this. But this approach is looking good. It's looking good. No, it isn't. Go ahead and apply full power. Go ahead and gently click up 2 Nickerson flaps. Don't do all your flaps. Wait for the aircraft to settle, and then go ahead and climb. Let's come back around and try that one a little bit better. All right, good to go. So our approach speed in this aircraft is going to be right around 70 miles per hour. So we're doing about 60. We've got our flaps all the way down. You can see that crosswind's kind of captured us. This aircraft likes to do a 3-point landing. If you want to do a wheel landing on it, feel free. I think you're going to find it a little difficult to control once you do get it down on the ground with a wheel landing. So again, all we're doing is using a nice gentle crab here. I could switch to wing low at any point, but for this purpose, I'm going to keep it there. Got, again, about 70 knots, full flaps. You can see everything's configured properly. Remember, we're nice and light right now. Obviously, if we're a bit heavier, we couldn't get away with this. Looks good to me. Looks good. Whoa, a little bit too much. A little too much. Go over the garbage. And nobody's loading anything. We'll go ahead and reduce the throttle to 0. We got plenty of room here. There we go. Come over the runway. Transition. Go around. Again, 2 clicks of flaps come up right away, and we'll try that one again. All right. Coming in at about 60 here, which is way below the recommended speed. That's a little better. That's closer to 70. Notice I'm basically coasting it at this point. There we go. And now we're down. Go ahead and pull the stick back. Not too hard on the brakes. Remember, you are a tail dragger. And we're home. My goodness, what an airplane. Let's go ahead and secure the aircraft. We're going to bring up our gear. We're going to bring up our flaps. Make sure everything's all set to go with that. And because we're an aircraft that we're allowed to drive on grass, we're just going to right onto the grass with it just like that. Securing the aircraft is a relatively simple process. It's really just a matter of making sure everything is shut down smoothly. Normally what you do is let it cool off a little bit before you just cut everything, but it works pretty well. We're going to come over on this side here. Like I said, we've got our mixture control. We're going to pull that all the way out like that. Give it a few moments. The engine will cut off in just a moment. That's usually, nice and stiff like that. We're going to pop off our 2 magneto switches like that. We're going to pop off our master switch. Just double check to make sure your light switches are in the position you want them to be. And enjoy.